What do we ought to do? Animals behave a little selfishly. They act on their urges without much regard for the other creature. Though humans are part of the animal kingdom, we act a little different from them. We care on how our actions can affect others. But at times, we struggle with our selfish urges. We want stuff with ourselves, whether it is food or money, or more complex such as love and popularity. If humans have acted these selfish desires, the society would be a mess. Fortunately, we have evolved a sense of morality. These sense guide us to believe in certain values. Values such as lying is wrong and kindness is good. Values in turn help us make ethical decisions. But how can one make ethical decisions? Ethics is often defined as a study of morality, but a more detailed definition is provided by Mr. John Day, stating, ethics is a study of what are good and bad ends to pursue in life, and what it is right and wrong to do in the conduct of life. It is therefore, above all, a practical discipline. Its primary aim is to determine how one ought to live and what action one ought to do in the conduct of one's life. He also described morality as standards of right and wise conduct whose authority in practical thought is determined by reason rather than a custom. In a situation when we cannot find clear nor the right answer, making decision would be hard because oftentimes we immediately phrase it in terms of competing solutions instead of articulating the underlying values of each options. Times like this is when ethical theories come to play. They represent the viewpoints from which individuals seek guidance as they make decisions. There are four broad categories of ethical theory. These are deontology, utilitarianism, rights, and virtues. The deontological theory states that people should adhere to their obligations and duties when engaged in decision making. This means that a person will follow his or her obligations to another individual or the society because upholding one's duty is what is considered ethically correct. Deontology contains many positive attributes, but it also contains flaws. One flaw is that there is no rationality or logical basis for deciding an individual's duties. Utilitarian theory are based on one's ability to predict the consequences of an action. To a utilitarian, the choice that yields the greatest benefit to the most people is the one that is ethically correct. Although people can use their life experiences to attempt to predict outcomes, one downside of utilitarianism is that no one can be certain that his or her predictions will be accurate. In ethical theories based on rights, the rights established by society are protected and given the highest priority. Rights are considered to be ethically correct and valid since a large population endorses them. A major complication of this theory is that, on a larger scale, one must decipher what the characteristics of a right are in a society. In order for a society to determine what rights it wants to enact, it must decide what the society's goals and ethical priorities are. So, therefore, it must be used in conjunction with another ethical theory that will consistently explain the goals of the society. The virtue ethical theory judges a person by his or her character rather than by an action that may deviate from his or her normal behavior. It takes the person's morals, reputation, and motivation into account when rating an unusual and irregular behavior that is considered unethical. One weakness of virtue ethical theory is that it does not take into consideration a person's change in moral character. Kohlberg taught us that there were 6 stages of ethical thinking, each stage being of greater maturity than the previous one. By these levels, we are allowed to know and test our own thinking and decision making. This helps individuals know themselves better and challenges them to move on to a higher level of thinking. Thus, with these guiding theories and knowledge that we have acquired, we acknowledge that being ethical is about character. It is about what values and moral principles you live by. And just like any habit, You can develop it by practicing and doing it on repeat. Aristotle once said, "We are what we repeatedly do." You build that character by patiently doing ethical decisions. Thank you very much, and God bless.